Have you been working out, eating right, and doing all the right things, and yet you still feel like your weight loss progress is completely stuck? You're not alone, and it may not be your fault. In the day and age of the internet, it's easy to find lots of information, but unfortunately that comes with myths and misconceptions. In today's video, I want to break down for you 4 lies that are likely keeping you from seeing the progress you want to see, and I hopefully help you get unstuck by the end of this video. Make sure you stick around for number 4, because to me, number 4 was one of the hardest myths for me to overcome. And so I want to help you overcome it too, so that you can lose weight faster than I did. What's up, mamas? Alexandria here, 35-year-old toddler mom, but I'm also a licensed therapist as well as a self-professed gym rat. And after spending over 10 years of my life stuck, overweight, and just feeling completely out of shape and not being able to figure out why, I finally cracked the code. And I use my therapy background because mindset is absolutely crucial, as well as my personal experience of losing over 40 pounds to reach my goals, to help other women hopefully achieve their goals in a better and faster way than I did, so that you don't have to make the same mistakes that I did. And these fat loss lies really negatively impacted my progress in those 10 years. And once I discovered that these were actually not true and was able to do something differently about them, I was much better successful at reaching my goals and finally am where I am today. So let's get started. Number 1, fat loss is confusing and complicated. Now, granted, I do want to say I don't underestimate that there are certainly different medical conditions and certain, areas where weight loss may be more difficult and more complicated depending on your health and wellness conditions. Every single person is different. They have different histories and backgrounds and all that sort of thing. I'm not trying to take away from that. But what I do think is that because there is so much information, there are so many workouts targeting fat loss, there's so many diet plans that are targeting fat loss, so many supplements that are targeting fat loss, it can be extremely confusing and overwhelming to look at in the space and be like, well, what the heck am I supposed to do then? It is absolutely confusing and really honestly extremely frustrating, especially as someone who, when I was trying to lose weight, I would get so caught up down these rabbit holes of oh, well, this is supposed to help me with fat loss, so this is supposed to help me with fat loss, and I'm like, well, where do I even start? And then you just freeze and you're like, I don't even know what to do. Just forget it. I don't even know what to do. And I remember vividly doing that on more than one occasion because I was just so freaking confused. But what I've learned and what I've realized in doing my own research is that there's no one specific thing that you need to do to target fat loss from a diet standpoint or an exercise standpoint. There's no specific exercise that is going to specifically target body fat. There's no specific diet plan like carnivore or keto or whatever that's going to target specifically fat loss for you. There's no supplement in particular. Supplements, no. There's no supplement that's going to specifically target fat loss. That is just advertising designed to take advantage of the fact that people like us who want to lose weight and feel healthier about ourselves in a society that prioritizes and tells you that skinny is good, that's just advertisers taking advantage of us to try to sell us a program. And honestly, it's kind of disgusting and really, really frustrating. And so what I've realized is that actually the key to fat loss is consistency. Consistency over time. Consistency in movement. Whatever that movement looks like for you. If it's weightlifting for you, that's great. There are certainly benefits to lifting weights, especially when you're thinking about from an overall health standpoint, and for women and bone density and bone health over the course of our life, that's super important. But from a fat loss standpoint, weightlifting is great. If maybe your thing is yoga or Pilates or walking, the thing that you're gonna do consistently that's gonna get you moving and get your heart rate elevated and get you physically active is the thing that's gonna help you to target fat loss the best. Because if it's weightlifting and you hate it, you're not gonna do it. So you can't target fat loss if it's something you're not gonna do. So whatever that exercise is that you wanna do, that's the thing. It's the consistency piece of it. It's also the consistency in eating healthy foods. It's not consistently being keto, or it's not consistently being carnivore. It's not, I'm just coming up with diets. It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, you have to do the thing that works best for you and understand what your limitations are. For me, that wasn't a sustainable or functional option for me. I just couldn't do it. I tried for a couple of days to eat carnivore, just honestly to test it out and see what I thought of it, and I just couldn't do it. It was just too restrictive for me. the thing that's been most successful for me has been to, notice my macros and to like calorie track and things like that. But I understand that there are people with EDs who may not be able to do that without being super triggered. And so it really is about finding the way that's going to work for you to be consistently in a calorie deficit. If for you that means prioritizing whole foods, if for you that means, charting your calories, if that means for you, just focusing on your hunger and fullness cues and relearning those sort of things, whatever it is that works best for you and is going to keep you consistent is the thing that's going to help you to reach your fat loss goal. You don't need these supplements. You don't need these crazy exercise plans. You don't need these crazy diets. Consistency, it's everything. It really and truly is. Lie number 2, if fat loss isn't quick, it isn't working. I vividly remember seeing all these different ads, and honestly, I still see them, for these like abs in 2 weeks or 30 days to lose belly fat and get flat abs and all this nonsense and so forth and so on. I vividly remember seeing these and trying these types of programs, and then I wouldn't see results in the like 2 weeks or 30 days or whatever. I was like, well, I still don't have abs. Like, what did I do wrong? And it became this like almost like fear of failure at that point, because I felt like I had failed. I felt like I was the problem and that I was doing something wrong because they advertised abs in 30 days. Well, I don't have abs, so I must be too lazy. I must be, not working hard enough. I must be a failure because I'm not, able to get these abs in 30 days. But the problem is it's unrealistic expectations. These programs set us up for unrealistic expectations and set up unrealistic timelines for change. And while I understand as humans, we want to be able to do things as quickly as possible. We want to see results as fast as possible. I can totally appreciate that because I'm certainly guilty of that too, right? Like, the sooner I can do something, the better. The sooner I can, lose the weight, great, the better, right? Because then I don't have to worry about that anymore. But the problem is that I was setting unrealistic expectations for myself, and it would cause me to quit and give up instead of pushing forward and keep going. We just talked about before, right? Consistency is everything. Well, if you feel like a failure and you quit, you can't be consistent. And so what I learned, and once I finally broke free from these unrealistic expectations I set for myself, and I focused on living a healthy lifestyle and being a healthy person rather than I needed to lose 30 pounds by Christmas, or, I needed flat abs in 3 weeks, whatever, then and only then was I actually able to see the progress, because then I was able to focus on staying consistent and living a healthy life. And I know it's really frustrating, but honestly, it's one of those things where we have to just stop engaging with it in order for it to stop. And listen, guys, if you're loving this video and finding it helpful in some way, I would absolutely love if you would give this video a thumbs up. And of course, if you love it here, I'd love if you would subscribe and let me be your non-judgy mom friend who comes alongside you to reach your health and wellness goals. Myth number 3 is that you have to be a great cook or super great at meal prep in order to lose weight. Now, you absolutely cannot out-train a bad diet. I will say that. Nutrition is far more important, especially from a weight loss standpoint, if that's the goal here, than your exercise. The exercise matters, but you cannot out-train a bad diet. So while that is true, but the problem I see is that, especially as someone who has never been good in the kitchen, who has never been good at meal prep, to see all these meals and all these what I eat in a day that are super complicated. They're making all these complicated meals and everything looks complex and interesting, which is great, but I have never been good at that. And so to me, that was completely discouraging. I was like, well, there's no way I am ever going to be able to make time for this or get good enough in the kitchen to be able to do this. And so then I would just get overwhelmed and I would just forget it. I would just be like, forget it. You know what? It doesn't matter. I'll just do the best I can with my exercise. And I think honestly that's part of the reason why it took me so long to get to my goal, is because I found nutrition so intimidating because of all these complex recipes I would see. I'm like, there's just no way. It's not possible, so why bother? When I realized and I figured out, and honestly this was a lot through learning about different kinds of foods through Noom. That's just what worked for me. When I realized and learned through Noom ways that you could get protein, and learned that you really just needed to learn to do things like brown some ground beef, or eat some shrimp, or make some chicken breasts, and you could do pre-cooked chicken. There are ways to eat whole foods that don't have to be complicated. There are great pre-prepared meals in places like Sam's or the grocery store that you can use that can help you to reach your goals in a way that's not super complicated, that doesn't make a super messy kitchen. And if you've ever seen any of my cooking, we should really call it cooking in quotes, any of my food content, you know that my goal is to keep it as simple as possible. I make things with as little complication as humanly possible because I need that. And I'm sure some of you guys need that too. You don't have time to make these really extreme, extravagant meals in order to lose the weight. You just don't have time for that. You're busy, you got kids, you got family, you got life going on, and you just don't have time for that. And that's okay because you can do it without having to meal prep. Now, for some people, meal prep works great. Some of you are great in the kitchen. I envy you. Some of you are great in the kitchen. Some of you love to cook. Some of you are like my husband. My husband, great cook, loves to cook. He's great at it. I hate it. I don't want to be in the kitchen. I just don't. I don't like it there other than to eat, and then I want to leave. It doesn't have to be that complicated. If you focus on prioritizing high protein foods and focus on eating whole foods, you really can make it simple. It doesn't mean that food is necessarily going to be the most interesting or exciting all the time necessarily, but what it does mean is that you can reach your goal. And I feel like a little bit, we're in this add protein to everything, which, as the kids would say, I feel like we've lost the plot. Did I say that correctly? See, this is what happens when I try to be cool and I'm clearly not cool. I say things like lost the plot when I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Is that correct? Am I saying this correctly? We lost the plot? Anyway, the point is we're in this era where everybody wants to add protein to everything. Not everything needs protein added to it. There are plenty of whole foods that you don't need to add protein to. And you can drink a darn protein shake. There's nothing wrong with drinking a protein shake. It doesn't have to be that complicated. And so once you realize and learn that you can eat whole foods and prioritize protein and whole foods in a simple way, that is when I found that I saw the most results and was able to actually make this work for me as a lifestyle. Is it always the most interesting food? No, absolutely not. But I got goals, and my goals matter more than always eating the fanciest foods. Do I still eat the foods I love? Absolutely. I just do it in moderation and I don't overcomplicate my cooking. Hopefully that helps. And honestly, at the end of the day, as long as you're living in a deficit, that's what's going to get you to the weight loss goals if that's the goal that you're choosing. If you're trying to lose weight, the key really is a calorie deficit and the way that you can eat from a nutrition standpoint to help you do that. And again, to me, it's prioritize protein and whole foods. All right, number 4, y'all. Is this one ever going to die? I'm beginning to think that it's never going to die because we keep talking about it and yet it's still hanging out. And it's very annoying. It's very frustrating. Number 4 is you can spot reduce fat. Here, just straight up, you cannot spot reduce fat. The research and the science is very clear that our body does not spot reduce in certain areas. When you look at the research, it shows that body fat reduction occurs in the entire body, which is why I have no girls anymore and I still have some lower belly fat, even though I am in what I would think is probably the best shape I've personally ever been in my entire life, and yet I still have lower belly fat and my girls are gone. I'm sad about it too. Because you cannot choose where your body removes fat. And as frustrating as that is, because we all have areas that we're sensitive about, right? For some of us, it's our legs. For some of it's our arms. For some of it's, our lower belly area. That's where I'm kind of most self-conscious, most sensitive. And a lot of it is genetics and biology and the way that we just have different body shapes. And the problem is that when you see these sort of clickbait titles about abs in 30 days, or when you're seeing these different weight loss or exercise plans that are gonna, target your arm fat, that doesn't work. It's all clickbait. And again, I think I said this a little bit ago, but the only way that the clickbait nonsense is gonna stop is when we stop clicking on it and stop giving when we stop giving them the clicks. Because that's what gets clicks, so that's what people are going to do. And I get it. As somebody who creates, health, wellness, and weight loss content, you want people to click on your content. And I understand that. I appreciate that. But we have to stop clicking on the clickbait if we want it to stop. And that's just sort of the reality. But you cannot spot reduce fat. You have to focus on losing fat in your entire body. And as your body fat, continues to decrease, it will get eventually to the areas that you are most sensitive about. And it really is unfortunate that we feel sensitive about certain areas of our body, but I totally get it because I was definitely in that camp too. Like I said, for me, it's my lower belly fat. I still have it because that's normal. That's healthy. We're human. We're not photoshopped. We're people. We're human. And so we're going to have some lower belly fat. We're going to have a little bit of cellulite. We're going to have, maybe a little bit of extra arm flab. Look, when I can flex, right? But then That's normal. That's normal. And it's okay. We're supposed to love our bodies, not hate them, and take care of them. That's the whole point. Or at least to me, that's the whole point. Hopefully that's the point for you. At any rate, while I understand being sensitive to certain areas, don't fall for the clickbait that's gonna say that you're gonna have toned and defined arms. The reason that my arms are toned and defined is A, partly biological and genetic, and also B, because I just lost weight overall. I have a total body fat reduction, and so that's helped me to look more trimmed in my arms. Biologically, that's just where I sort of built muscle the fastest. Also, I have short arms because I don't make 5 feet tall, so it makes me look even more muscular. Sorry. Shh, don't tell anybody. Don't tell my secret. Oops, too late. So I say all that to say, love your body, take care of it, and I understand being sensitive about things, but if you keep focusing on total fat loss reduction, you will eventually see fat loss in whatever the areas are that you're most concerned about or most sensitive. Stay the course and keep going. And listen, if you've loved this, YouTube's going to recommend a video for you they think you'll love. I personally would recommend this calorie deficit hacks video because, as we've talked about throughout this video, fat loss really is about living in a calorie deficit. And so I made a video a little while ago about some different calorie deficit hacks that were really helpful for me, and I hope they'll be helpful for you too. And until next time, bye friends.